Have you ever been told to be realistic, stay balanced, or play it safe? If so, this video will shatter that mindset completely. This isn't for the faint of heart. It's not for those who want comforting advice. This is a punch in the face of limited thinking, a declaration of war against the mediocre lifestyle that's quietly killing your potential. If you've ever felt like you were born for something greater, but remained shackled by fear, excuses, and a suffocating environment, it's time to rise. The 10x mindset isn't optional, it's a survival instinct. And now, get ready, because this journey to destroy every limitation begins exactly where most people choose to stop. 10x thinking, a strike against safe thinking. Every personal failure starts at one point. The goals are set too small. People aren't crushed by huge ambitions, they're smothered by comfort. Thinking within your means doesn't protect you. It guarantees you'll never break free from mediocrity. 10x thinking demands a psychological shock. Multiply your goals by 10. Not to intimidate, but to force you to evolve. When you compel your mind to solve a bigger problem, you force it to become a greater tool. That shift doesn't just raise the stakes, it redefines who you must become to win. Many believe thinking big is unrealistic, but small thinking is the dangerous fantasy. Big thinking doesn't make you fail faster. It makes you succeed properly. When aiming for the extraordinary, you build different plans, systems, and execution. Meanwhile, those thinking small patch holes and crawl through mazes they built themselves. They burn out not because they worked too hard, but because they were stuck solving problems that never mattered. The trap wasn't in doing too much, it was in thinking too little. Face the truth. You can't break through by setting goals others have already achieved. 10x is not fantasy. It's the only method that forces you out of your comfort cage. It stops you from surviving and makes you start dominating. It forces you to build systems, not just hacks. And most of all, it ends your quiet treaty with mediocrity. This is the first and most necessary strike. Why thinking big is a duty, not a privilege. You don't think big just for yourself. You think big because if you don't, everyone around you will continue recycling outdated thought patterns. Small thinking is like toxic gas in a sealed room. It silently suffocates everyone. Every time you shrink your vision, you silently give others permission to do the same. But when you dare to play big, you become the first to flip on the lights in a pitch-black space. And in that darkness, your boldness is no longer a choice. It's a responsibility. Look at any group, family, teams, communities. The person with vision always sets the direction. They don't get to think small, not because they're special, but because their thoughts shape the trajectory of others. If you're the first in your family to break financial limits, you must think bigger than anyone. If you're the only one chasing bold ideas, you must burn brighter than doubt. No one demands it of you. Reality just leaves you no other option. Big thinking is no longer a luxury for the privileged. It's a mandatory decision in a brutally competitive world. Big thinkers don't wait for opportunity, they create it. And through that vision, they pull others out of stagnation. The truth is, if you don't shoulder the duty to think big, you'll be dragged back down by those too afraid to grow. In a world where comfort spreads like a virus, big thinking can't wait for when you're ready. It must begin now. Massive action, redefining effort. Hard work isn't enough anymore. Being busy is no longer a sign of progress. Only massive action, relentless, concentrated, amplified action has the power to shatter inertia. Most people operate like this. Act a little, wait for results, fear failure. But 10x action is different. No waiting, no guessing, just attacking as if failure doesn't exist. You push repeatedly, regardless of feedback. Not because you're reckless, but because speed and force are the only real survival tools in today's game. Ordinary effort only creates ordinary results, or worse, none at all. The difference between winners and everyone else lies in volume and velocity. Nobody remembers those who did enough. We remember those who did more than all. But doing more doesn't mean doing blindly. Massive action means focusing all firepower on high-impact moves. It's a deliberate onslaught, not random hustle. Do more, in the right place, at 10x intensity. You think you're doing enough? Check this. Have you created momentum? When action is deep and fast enough, you enter a flow state where execution compounds effortlessly. If you're still forcing yourself to act, Still waiting on motivation, still reacting instead of striking. You haven't acted enough. Success doesn't come from scattered strategy. It comes from volume, velocity, and violent clarity. If nobody's called you crazy yet, you're not acting big enough. Kill every excuse. The journey begins with ownership. Excuses aren't truth. They're self-authorized justifications for inaction. When you say, I don't have time, I'm not ready, or it's not the right moment, you're not being honest. You're building permission to fail. The 10x journey begins with a vow. Stop narrating, start moving. No more blaming, no more conditions. Just you, your target, and the distance in between. Want real success? Ownership must be absolute. No sharing, no sidestepping, no negotiations. Excuses are armor for the weak, but that armor keeps you stuck at the starting line. Every excuse reinforces victim thinking. I can't because. But you can't play big with small mental models. 10x thinkers don't ask, is this possible? They ask, how do I make it happen? They don't need reassurance. They need breakthroughs. And breakthroughs can't coexist with rationalizations. The moment you claim 100% responsibility, you reclaim 100% of your power. Start today. List your 3 most used excuses. Then, beside each one, write down a single action that shatters it. You don't need perfect moves, just real ones. You don't need certainty, just movement. Every step melts fear. Every excuse evaporates in the presence of execution. And here's the twist. Action builds confidence, while excuses only build delay. Stop telling stories. Start building results. Ownership won't tire you. It will liberate you. Obsession, not a disorder, but a miracle. Have you ever wanted something so badly you couldn't sleep? If not, you haven't really lived. Obsession isn't a flaw, it's the highest form of commitment. People call it extreme. But if you want extreme results, you need a level of focus that borders on insanity. When your goal becomes a productive obsession, you don't need motivation, you have instinct. All distractions fade. All irrelevant opinions get filtered out. You live in a state of I cannot not do this. Obsession doesn't burn you out, indifference does. Most people fail not from lack of talent, but from lack of deep care. They want success, but not enough to sacrifice. They like the goal, but don't love it. Obsession separates I want to from I must. Obsessive people don't choose when to work. They work all the time. Nobody needs to push them. They're self-fueled engines. And that internal combustion creates outcomes normal people can't even grasp. Obsession doesn't mean doing everything. It means doing one thing better than anyone. When you're obsessed, you build a life system around one core mission. You manage time ruthlessly. You eliminate toxic inputs. Obsession creates structure, and structure creates breakthroughs. This kind of intense focus is the ultimate weapon in a world that rewards distraction. You will not succeed with casual interest. Pick something worth obsessing over, and let it turn you legendary. Fear, the roadmap to breakthrough. Most people use fear as a reason to pull back. But in 10x thinking, fear is the signal to move forward. If something scares you, that's proof it has the potential to change your life. Fear only shows up when you step outside the comfort zone. You don't fear average things, you fear extraordinary ones. And for that reason, fear isn't a warning, it's a map toward expansion. You don't need to avoid fear, you need to treat it like GPS. If your knees are shaking, it means you're standing in front of the door that must be kicked open. Psychologists call this catastrophizing, the habit of imagining the worst-case scenario. You're not scared of action, you're scared of the imaginary fallout. But studies show that over 85% of what we fear never actually happens. That means most fear is a byproduct of inaction and overthinking. The solution? Act first, refine later. Channel that nervous energy into focused motion. Just like performers, athletes, or entrepreneurs, winners don't eliminate fear. They ride it. They run toward the stage, not away from it. Fear is fuel, and action is the ignition switch. A simple strategy. Whatever you're afraid of, don't avoid it. Break it into the smallest executable move and do it now. Afraid of public speaking? Start talking to your own reflection. Fear of launching? Write the first sentence. Fear of rejection? Make one call. Every small action weakens fear's grip and strengthens your self-leadership. Fear never fully disappears, but champions don't wait to feel ready. They act while scared, and the act itself transforms fear into power. Every time you move forward with fear in your chest, you teach your brain that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's mastery over it. The 10x environment. Don't choose nice people. Choose ambitious ones. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, yet most people live as if that truth doesn't apply to them. They keep old connections out of loyalty, guilt, or habit. But in the 10x game, feelings don't drive your future. Your vision does. If you surround yourself with small thinkers, your own thinking will shrink. If you dwell in comfort-driven circles, you'll become predictable, complacent, and easy to beat. Your environment isn't just an influence. It's either your launch pad or your invisible cage. Choose wrong, and it will quietly smother your ambition without a word. When you enter a room where people talk about millions, momentum, and mastery, your mind has no choice but to stretch. Environments often don't speak, but their energy programs or poisons your internal standard. You don't need to be around geniuses, but you must be around people who think big, act bold, and expect more. Their vision will infect you. Their drive will confront your comfort. And if you don't place yourself in rooms that challenge you, you'll unconsciously settle for rooms that validate your limits. Growth isn't found where you're accepted, it's found where you're challenged. Want a strategy? Start with an audit. Who pushes you forward? Who pulls you down? Who drains you? Who energizes you? Then make a shift. Seek out communities, masterminds, events, even digital spaces where the standard is higher than yours. You don't need them to hold your hand. You need them to stretch your mind. Exposure reprograms belief. If you consume average, you become average. But if you constantly absorb ambition, risk, execution, and vision, you'll eventually mirror it. That's not hype. That's biology. Don't wait to feel ready to upgrade your circle. Just start climbing to where the giants live. Persistence. The power isn't in the first attempt, but in the 100th. Success doesn't come from one big breakthrough. It comes from your ability to apply relentless pressure over time. Most people don't fail because they're wrong. They fail because they stop too early. They choose the right path, the right idea, the right mission, but they quit on the doorstep of results. 10x thinkers know the finish line always appears after the moment of exhaustion. Persistence isn't boring repetition. It's unshakable intensity when others fade. And in that moment, when others stop, you become irreplaceable. Not because you're better, but because you stayed in the game when no one else did. Not everyone has persistence, because it's not glamorous. It doesn't come with applause, no spotlight, just sweat, repetition, and silence. But it's exactly in that silence that leverage is built. Every time you keep going, while others rest, you gain an inch. Stack enough inches, and you pull ahead by miles. Persistence is proof that you want something more than comfort. Not today, not this week, forever, until it's yours. It's not driven by mood, it's fueled by vow. And most of all, it's blind to obstacles. If the goal is still valid, the mission isn't over. Don't ask, how long until I get results? Ask, how long am I willing to hold the line without them? This game doesn't reward the impatient. It rewards the stubborn, the adaptive, the resilient. Start with this mindset. If the goal is massive, the resistance will be too. If you plan for 3 months and it takes 3 years, stay. Persistence isn't just continuing, it's continuing with intensity as if it's day one, even when life has punched you in the face. Champions don't pace themselves for comfort. They persist until the outcome has no choice but to appear. Celebrate and scale. Celebrate to rise, not to rest. Successful people don't celebrate to relax. They celebrate to reinforce momentum. Every win, no matter how small, is undeniable proof that progress is real. When acknowledged, it rewires your brain to seek more of that feeling through more action. But here's where most fail. They mistake milestones for finish lines. In the 10x mindset, celebration is a ritual of transition from one level to the next. It's not closure, it's ignition. The point of celebrating isn't to settle, it's to reload. Because if you pause too long in victory, you risk freezing in a version of yourself that was only meant to evolve. If you don't celebrate right, you'll start building a house on outdated success. Yesterday's victory becomes today's excuse if you glorify it too long. Celebration must become a strategic tool, not a comfort reflex. After each milestone, you must ask, how do I multiply this? Scale it? Systematize it? That's how top performers think. They don't just repeat success, they expand it. They use the energy of completion to fuel the vision for the next level. Growth is not sustained by what worked before. It's sustained by your willingness to outgrow even your own wins. Here's a tactical move. Write down 3 wins every week, and for each, define one next level action. Don't celebrate in isolation. Share it with a mentor, a mastermind, your team. Celebration creates a culture of winning, and that culture is the greatest invisible asset of any 10x individual, team, or movement. Use each success as a springboard, not a throne. Because the moment you rest too long on your pedestal, you risk becoming outdated in the echo of your last applause. Celebrate not because it's over, but because what comes next is even bigger. 10x, not a tool, but a rebellion against mediocrity. Make no mistake, 10x is not a tactic, it's not a hack, it's not a productivity system. 10x is a life operating system, where you declare war on every limit society, circumstances, or even you have placed on yourself. When you adopt the 10x mindset, you no longer operate like the average person. You don't ask, how much is enough? You ask, what level is worthy of my full potential? This isn't extremism, this is awakening. It's a refusal to sleepwalk through life under the lullaby of reasonable. It's a full-body commitment to live uncaged. You cannot live 10x with half your heart. You can't apply it to business while neglecting your body, your relationships, your legacy. 10x is all in or not at all. When you start thinking big in one area, the rest of your life either rises to match or collapses under its own excuses. This mindset is not driven by fear, it's driven by mission. And missions don't wait. They don't ask permission. They demand energy, focus, and audacity. When you're in the 10x zone, you're not competing anymore. You're building an arena where no one else has the guts to play. The final question isn't, is 10x right for me? It's what am I still waiting for to finally live huge? Because if you don't push your limits, you'll forever live inside someone else's. This world doesn't reward the polite. It crowns those who dare to redefine the rules. And you only get there by thinking bigger, acting harder, committing deeper, and erasing just enough from your vocabulary. 10x is not an option. It's the moment you stop negotiating with mediocrity and start building the life that was always meant to be yours. You can continue living as you have been, thinking small, doing less, waiting, making excuses, and then dying in the stability that society has handed you as a sweet sentence. Or you can bang the table, stand up, and declare, I refuse to accept a life of mediocrity. 10x thinking doesn't require you to be perfect. It requires you to explode. Dare to want more. Dare to act faster. Dare to live as if you're a threat to every limitation. Because if not now, when? If not you, then who? The world is waiting for you to lead.